This week on the Midlife Awareness Podcast.
I even have a tattoo on my arm in my own handwriting that says I am enough, because that's very important for me to remind myself that I am enough.
Right.
And I'm enough right where I'm at.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Midlife Awareness Podcast. We have a special edition this month. This month is Ladies Month here at Midlife Awareness Podcast. We had Leslie Baines, the first interview this month. This week, I have a special friend with me this week, Heather Mack. Heather, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Heather and I grew up together way back when. Seems like a long time ago now, but we went through high school together, and Heather is now in Hutto, Texas.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you came aboard today, Heather. It's going to be nice to catch up with you. You're doing some big things down there, so let's just start off with telling everybody who you are, what you're up to at this point, and we'll get it going.
Yeah, of course. Nice seeing you again. And actually, we've been together since elementary,
Well,
middle
that is
school,
true.
high
That's
school.
that's true. It's been a long
We
time.
go a long ways back. But yes, I'm from Hutto, Texas, which is a suburb of Austin, a northeast suburb of Austin. It's growing rapidly, faster than what anyone can keep up with. Our population has increased by like 30% in like the last, I don't know, 5 years, I guess.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, I own a business in Hutto. It is a hair salon. So I've owned that for 5 years, and my husband's career brought us to this area, which I love all things about Texas. I love the warmth. I love the area that we live in. It reminds me a lot about our smaller community that we came from, but I can still order a pizza and Chinese and have it delivered, which is very important to me. And I can get gas on any corner. So, but it's still, we've just got one high school, a big sense of community. And so that's what really drew me to Hutto, is that I liked that about it, but yet it was still big enough and had some amenities that, didn't take me all the way back to quite as small as where we came from.
I'm surprised you didn't say you like the politics of Texas.
Um, that's probably for another podcast.
So let's let's talk about one of the reasons why I'm glad you're here. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast is I like the idea of celebrating people, celebrating big things that happen in people's lives, especially later on. And so you started your company, H. Mack and Company,
Mhm.
um, later on in your life. This was in your 50s, correct?
Well, I was close to 50 when I
Okay.
started.
I couldn't
Yep.
remember for sure how long you've been there. So,
Yeah, 5 years.
so, so it was later on in life.
Mhm.
And so kind of go through the process with that with me. What was it like? I'm sure it was a scary ordeal, or,
Mhm.
maybe not, because it's
Yeah,
something that you've been doing for a long time, but
yeah,
um, doing a business by yourself it can be kind of scary. So go through the process with me with that, and how you're liking it.
sure. So yeah, I am a hairstylist. I've been a licensed hairstylist for 30 plus years now. And so I lived in Colorado for 19 years, and I, worked for businesses. I was independent there as well. And then after I got married, my husband's job took us to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we were there for a year and a half. And I was working at a salon, and as a hairstylist, you have to build your clientele, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I just walk in and I'm set at a certain salary. So as I was just getting going in Charlotte, then a job opportunity came here in Texas. So then I had to stop all over again and start all over again. So starting all over as a seasoned hairstylist is very hard. A lot of salons won't hire you. because they want fresh out of beauty school that they can train their way, which I get and I respect. But it's really hard as a hairstylist to keep starting over again, mentally, physically, all of the things. So, when we got here, I actually took a position at an apartment complex as a leasing consultant because I had just had surgery on my shoulder and I wasn't quite sure I wanted to start over again doing hair. So I loved it. I loved meeting people. I'm great at sales, so I did really good there. The problem is that in order for me to be able to see advancement, it's like I had to move up in the office and move further back away from people. And that just wasn't where I wanted to be. So, although I love the company and I love the position, I just didn't see a career path with it. So I decided I'd get back into hair, and I decided to take a position with a chain salon company that had career paths and things I could do and so forth. And so they were opening up a brand new store and location right by my house. So I was hired on to manage that salon. And I did that for about 2.5 years, but I'm not a retail person. Like, I don't want to sell perfume and lipsticks and all the other things that go along with that.
Mhm.
Like, I wanted to deal with my team. I wanted to be part of my salon team. And so there was some differences in, what that looked like. And I just felt that I wasn't going to ever fit in their model of what they wanted. So I made the decision to branch out on my own. And so I went into what we call now a suite salon, which is just a little cubicle where you'll see in a lot of places where there's just a whole bunch of independent rooms. And so hairstylists, nail techs, massage therapists, whatever, just go in there and rent out a space.
Hmm.
And so I talked with my husband about it, what it looked like for our family and what he thought if it was a great idea. He was completely on board. And so I did that, and I got myself to the point I was so busy that I was turning people away.
Oh, wow.
And so I was booked for, like 6 to 8 weeks out, but I couldn't physically take any more people. And so I was working 4 days a week, which is about all my body could handle.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of came in like, what am I going to do when I physically can't do this anymore? Like, how are we going to have an income?
Right.
So we take my 6 figures out of doing hair. What are we going to do?
Right.
Right. So I started thinking, I'm like, I think we need to build a salon, like as a retirement plan. So, that way I can get out from behind the chair,
Right.
still grow people and be part of the business, but not actually physically doing the work anymore. So, I had worked with a company, Summit Salon, Business Centers, and it's kind of also my other gig as well. But I have worked with them for lots of years. And so my husband and I went to what they call the summit. And so he could learn some more about the business as well, profit margins and budgets and all the things. So he had a clear understanding of what was going on. And so then we decided to go ahead and look for property and open the business so that we could grow the business. And then I could step away from the chair. So each year I had like, I'm going to take away this day. I'm going to take, the next year came along, I'm going to take out this day. And so then December 23rd of 2022 was actually my last day behind the chair.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was all thought, that was the thought process going forward each year, how I was going to retire from behind the chair.
Yeah.
So I did that. And so I spent all last year as my first year not behind the chair and just running the business and growing people and stylists. So that's how the salon business actually started, was just so that I could retire from behind the chair, but still be involved in the business with the people and the stylists and so forth.
How has that change been for you? Has it been kind of scary, or have you liked it, or?
It was a lot. I mean, I kind of felt some boredom every now and then because the salon actually runs really well. Like, I don't have to be in there. I've got leadership in place. I've got people doing the right things. But I found like some boredom had set in, like I wasn't doing enough. And so that's how I felt like it was the right time for me to start becoming a salon consultant then as well. So that's kind of how that all Starting the business was a lot on me,
Mhm.
knowing that I was responsible for other people and their livelihood, right? And their
Yeah,
paychecks, right? I
yeah.
remember for like the first month or two when I would drive home underneath this one bridge that I go home, I would just sit at the stoplight and I would kind of cry. Like, am I doing the right thing? Are people happy? Are they going to make enough money? Because now I'm responsible for that, right? To a
Right.
certain degree. They have to have their own accountability, but to a certain degree. So now we've got like 18 people on payroll and, we're growing.
Was it an easy transition for you to go to the consultant side?
Um, I'm still in my training phase right now. I don't feel that it's going to be that hard because I know it well. I have a business consultant from the same company. I've used her for 5 years and other salons in Colorado. I had one who I'm still very good friends with, who was my mentor. Um, so I don't feel that it will be. I think I'll be okay in it because I've also lived it. So, as a salon owner, as a hairstylist, like I'm very well versed in it.
So what are some of the responsibilities you're going to have with that then?
I will have to be able to go out and kind of, get new accounts per se, new salon businesses. But then what falls on me is making sure that I'm helping them and serving them to their best ability to make sure that they're getting the best out of the program and make sure that they're growing as well. And I'm delivering the information the way it's supposed to be delivered.
Um, all right. So we're talking with Heather Mack. Heather is a close personal friend of mine. Um, and the community that we grew up in was a very, very, very small community.
Mhm.
Um, do you remember how many people we had in our graduating class?
I do 14.
I, that's a big subject in my house.
I
It's
know,
like
right? Like people don't get it. They don't even
they
understand
don't get it. They
it.
don't. They totally.
No
You
concept.
had what?
Uh-huh.
Really? No, no. Come on, tell me. How many people did you have? No, really. There was 14.
Right? Yep.
So, um, so looking back, you're in you're in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas from what they say. I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever.
They like to believe it.
Yes, they did. They definitely like to believe it. Um, so looking back, the road from Deep River, Millersburg, and now to Texas. Um, Obviously not a straight path, and kind of windy roads. What do you take from that journey from here to there?
Um, I take that I'm thankful for the Midwest values that I was raised with. The please, the thank yous, the manners, how to respect people, um, all of that. I think there are challenges growing up in a community of that size, on a bigger scope, and I don't think you recognize it when you're in it. I love small community. I love the support, but sometimes too small. When you sit back, I don't feel that there's also maybe the freedom to be oneself. And I think I struggled with that a little bit. I don't feel that I was able to actually truly be who I wanted to be. And I think that is maybe some of the challenges that I had growing up and then in my young adult life is trying to figure out who I wanted to be because I didn't feel like I had freedom to be who I wanted to truly be. Right.
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure.
those are, things as an adult you can sit back and look like, yeah, a small community is nice because it feels safe. But what does safe really mean? Right? Who's it
Yeah,
safe for?
right, right, right. So, you spent a lot of time out in Colorado. You went from here out to Colorado where you spent, I think, most of your life, right? Was out
Yeah.
there. What were some of the things that you were doing out there? Because you said you've been in here for 30 years. Um, and so just kind of take me through some of the time that you were out there, some of the lessons and values and stuff that you learned.
So, when when I made the decision to leave Iowa, that was actually a pretty big deal, because I was the first person in my family and kind of our small community to actually leave, right? I was 19. I was leaving my high school boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
And who was a very close friend of yours as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I made the decision that I needed to for myself, right? But sometimes when we're in these small communities, we don't make decisions for ourselves. We live through other people and for our community, right? So that was one of the big first steps that I made. I needed to leave. I needed to get away, right? So I moved to Colorado, which is where my grandma and my birth mother and so forth lived. I just wanted to go experience that life. So I moved to Colorado, enrolled in college because I'm still trying to go to college, and be the college student, what everybody in Iowa does. We go to college because we're going to be a teacher, right? So, and then I just realized that I wasn't making good choices as far as I like to party. I like to have fun. That's no secret to anyone who knew me. And it just was becoming costly. So I literally just came across a commercial on TV that was like beauty school. And I was like, oh, I mean, I had brought it up, I remember as a child or maybe in high school about wanting to do hair because I remember, like my cousins and them going to beauty school. And I remember my dad saying no because they're dumb and they don't make any money.
Wow.
So, I mean, right, right. So
And now look at you.
there's that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, teach their own perceptions. And as a hairstylist, we fight it every day, right? We're never supposed to be worth what we charge, right? That's something that we talk about all the time with hairstylists. Um, so, I moved to Colorado. I decided to enroll in beauty school, right? So I did that. And what I found is that I could truly be myself, right? Like I could be myself with these guests. I had a lot of growing up to do. Obviously, I got thrown into salon management shortly after I became a hairstylist, which probably because they saw leadership qualities in me, but I was absolutely horrible at it. Like I tell people all the time, like I was the worst. I would have never worked for me. Like I knew what needed to be done, but I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't
Mhm.
treat people nicely, right? I just thought if you barked orders at people, they should listen.
Oh, wow.
So, I had a lot of growing to do.
Yeah.
Um, and so I take that as a life lesson, right? And I just think that, when you're in your 20s, that's what you should be doing is learning life lessons and growing, understanding how the world works and what part of it you want to play in it, right? We're all not going to be on the same path.
Right. Right.
And we'll have to figure out what is important to us and where we want to go with that.
Hello, everybody. If you like the content of this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, you can send me a message at midlifeawareness podcast@gmail.com. In your mind, yeah, we grew up in a really, really small community. As you and I were kind of preparing for this, though, I think some of the realization hit me, though, that, we knew everybody.
Mhm.
And I think for the most part, the saying goes when you're in a small community like that, everybody knows everybody and everybody knows what you're doing and stuff like that. But as you and I were talking, it's just like we were close, but yet there's still a lot of stuff that we don't know. We don't
Mhm.
know what people go through on a daily basis. You could be with somebody in somebody's life every day doing everything with them and still not know what they're going through. So what were some of the challenges you think um, going through that small community?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we've talked about this, is that we're right. We spent every single day together, right?
Yeah, we
Probably
did.
6 days a week together, right? And you and I were both in all the extracurricular
Yeah,
activities together, right? So we
yeah.
spent a lot of time together, but we didn't know what we didn't know, right? I think part of growing up in a small community, there is we have to look a certain way to the community because it's small. Like you can't be that outside person that acts different. You can't be that family that has turmoil. You can't be that family that has dysfunction. Because if you are, everyone in your town of 250 people will know about it,
Right.
right? All the farmers in between our two towns, they will know about it, right? And so you can't have that be shown. And I know in my town, my maiden name carried a lot of weight, right? I had to live up to my grandparents' expectations and what my name held, right?
Yeah.
So, there were lots of expectations that came along with that. So there wasn't people to talk to, and you didn't know who to trust. You didn't know who you could talk to about anything. I mean, I remember our math teacher, Mr. Hannon, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
he taught my dad and my mom,
Uh-huh. He taught
right?
everybody in my family too.
Right. So like there was an expectation, right? And I didn't get, he called me what he was going to call me, right? He called
Yeah.
me by my dad's nickname. I couldn't, what was I going to say?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you just have to be, you just have to go along with what you're being told to do, right? There's no freedom.
I mean, think about it. Now that you mentioned that, I never even really processed that. Our sixth grade teacher, she taught everybody in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and seventh grade teacher, she taught everybody in our family. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
going back there, it's like back in those days, nobody left.
Right.
They were
Right.
there,
Yep.
and they were there for life. And it's just like generations and generations of, teachers teaching everybody in the same family. And so, yeah, I mean, there is that element of it's just like, it's, it's a rock. Everybody's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um,
And you
you're
can't be
right.
different.
No, you're right. You're right. Because, I don't know. I kind of look back on it and laugh now. I guess I was always the good boy.
Yeah. Right. You
Yeah,
were.
I
Yep.
know I was always the good boy. Uh,
Right.
don't necessarily want to be the good boy.
Right, right. Well, and you
So,
look at my husband, right? Look at my children. All of my children are biracial. My
yeah,
husband is Black.
yeah.
I knew back then that I wanted to be like I knew what I was attracted to,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
In third grade, I asked for a Black baby doll, and my mom got it for me, but it had to stay at her house,
Wow.
right? So, and I still have that Black baby to this day, and my grandkids play with it, right? But I knew from a very young age who I was and who I was attracted to, and it wasn't in my community,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. I mean, the closest thing would have been my high school boyfriend with his dark hair,
right.
his lips, and his
Yeah.
booty, right? That's the closest thing I could ever get to, right? So, but I knew what I wanted. I laugh about this all the time in our house growing up that remember how we used to take posters and hang them on our walls? Like back in the day, you'd buy a
Oh, yeah.
poster and hang it on our wall, right?
Mine
So
was full of sports figures. It was never full. It was never
well,
full of
girls
music
were
people.
different, right?
Well,
But
yeah.
the girls, they had Sean Cassidy, all of those boys hanging on theirs. I had Michael Jackson,
Hmm.
right? On the back of the door, not on the front, on the back of the door,
Oh, wow.
right? So, like, I knew who I was. I just didn't have the freedom to be who I wanted to be.
Right. Right. Now, I guess I never realized this. You brought up something in some of our conversations. Um, was there a rift between Deep River people and Millersburg people?
I don't know that there was a riff. I don't think there was a riff. I think there was, I think the Deep River people were probably a little more wild
Well,
than
yeah.
the Millersburg people.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
so some people's parents didn't, there was like that half point line between Deep River and Millersburg where
Yeah.
like
Oh, it was a diamond
those
trail. Yeah, something
those
like that.
parents those parents didn't necessarily like our side of, the world. I mean, look at our class,
Yeah.
like the girls, for instance, right? Like it was very, but I
Well,
look
there was. I mean, your packs, right? The packs that
right,
we grew up in were the packs from our own towns.
right, right.
And I guess, there is something to say to that. I mean, because that's where you spend all your time is in your town. But because our towns were what? They were like 10 miles apart.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And so, I mean, just growing up in Iowa, that's just, this is what they were back then, because
Right. That's not a big deal.
no. But so yeah, I mean, our closest friends were the people that we're close to that
Right.
right there in our own town. And I guess I never really felt that there was I always kind of felt that everybody was the same, as far as the people go. But now I definitely think that the older generations, when Deep River had its own school and Millersburg had its own school, and then when they finally come together, I do think that there was some feelings, obviously, when the
Hmm.
two came together, that older generation. But um, yeah, it's just I never thought about it when you brought it up. It's like, well, I
Well,
just rather,
even as I was growing up, like I wasn't allowed to, that's why I started hanging around the older girls, the grade above me, because I wasn't allowed to hang around with the ones in my class because they were the troublemakers, right? So that's yeah, yeah. So I ventured out, to the grade above, and then that's why I would hang out with them a lot. But truth be told, like they were the ones that were the older girls, their
yeah,
families were the ones that were covering up for me so that I could go out and do what I was doing.
yeah,
So was that a smart move, right?
yeah. Because usually they don't want you to go older. They want you. They want you to stay where you're at. Because usually, if you go out with older ones, that means trouble.
Right, right. And I was
So
on the young end of our class too. Remember, I'm the youngest in our class.
yeah, I guess I never really thought about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so then I was even hanging out with even older, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mhm.
But so do you keep up with a lot of people from back home?
I do. I mean, more so just, like Tammy and Carrie, but
Yeah.
um I,
By
I
the
would,
way, shout out to Tammy and Carrie.
hey. Um, you know, uh Duke lives down here in Texas. I've
Yeah, I knew
seen
that.
him once. Him and Shannon came through and I saw them. It was nice to see them. They've got a great growing family up in the Dallas area. Um, but other than that, I mean, just me and you fighting on Facebook about Kansas
Hey,
City, the
we
Broncos.
don't fight. We have passionate conversations. Okay. And this is the other thing that I really love about this podcast and what I really want. I just absolutely hate the state that we're in right now. You
Right,
know, it's
right.
just it's unreal. It's tearing families apart. It's tearing friends apart. It's tearing everybody apart. And one of the
As you
things
say that, I want to say something really quick. What it did for me though is it told me who people really were.
that is true. And I'm kind of glad that we're doing this because there's come as we keep talking, there's all kinds of things that come to my mind, and I'm just trying
Mhm.
to, trying to process it all and trying to get it out there. But
Right.
I think in my life, um, I've always felt myself as middle of the road.
Hmm.
And but just the way things are right now, I think even that's a scary deal because um the further people go to the right, the further people go to the left. Yeah, and it almost seems like you're alienated. You're on an island all by yourself. And but one of the things I wanted to do with this is we can have disagreements.
Hmm.
We absolutely can. That doesn't mean necessarily that um, people are bad. And I hate really, and here I'm using the word hate, but I don't like it when people will sit there just because someone disagrees with you, you think they're evil.
Hmm.
And so I want to prove to everybody with this conversation that we're having today that, you know, we can have a life where we're sitting here talking and laughing and conversating. And the fact that you are a Denver Broncos fan makes it even more proof that we can get along, people. We absolutely can.
I wondered where you were
I,
going with this.
and this is like, I what more proof is there to have a
Mhm,
Denver Bronco on
mhm,
my podcast,
mhm,
talking to them, conversating, laughing, having a good old time, and we can all get along.
mhm.
We really can.
Well,
So,
I think you hit something when you said that you find yourself the middle of the road and you
yeah.
feel alienated. I just want you to say that I feel like more people are like you. The problem is right now, from my opinion, is that the extremes on both ends are the ones that's getting the noise.
Yes.
I feel like there's more people like the both of us, and we've discussed some of our, things that we agree on. I feel like there's more people in our lives that are more like us, but the extremes, and it's the extremes, it doesn't even matter what you're talking about,
Right. No, it
right?
doesn't. No, it
Extremes
doesn't.
always get the most attention, right? And that's exactly what's happening, is the extremes are getting the most attention, and there's us in the middle going,
Yeah. Hold
but
on.
wait, can we just, like go to work? Can we just go to work and fix some things,
And a lot
right?
of it is, it comes down to whoever's the loudest,
Yeah,
and that's
for
who's going
sure.
to
And
get
that's,
all the attention. And that's what's
mhm,
going on.
yep, yep.
So,
That's kind of happening a little bit in my community right now. And I speak at city council meetings
oh, wow.
quite regularly. I just was there last night speaking on it. Um, you can Google it and find out all the stuff. But
Really?
there's our mayor has a suit out against him for racism.
Wow.
And so I speak about that a lot and some other shady things that he does. I'm not a person who speaks from feelings, just because feelings are very hard for me.
Hmm.
Um, and so I tend to speak mainly from facts. I'm a very factual person. So if I'm going to say it, it's because I've done my research and I know the facts. So, and that irritates him.
Oh, really?
He doesn't like facts, right? Because for me, facts, there's no gray area with a fact, right? Right. But feelings are left up to interpretation, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so you know what? I think you should take the Enneagram test. You need to do an Enneagram test also as well. I'm just throwing that out there. Enneagram. Like
Okay.
I'm an Enneagram 8.
And what's that going to do for me?
It'll just give you a little insight on your personality. But what it's done for me is that it has give me an understanding of why people look at me the way they do, like the reason why they might call me a bully, the reason why they think I'm mean, all the things. But it has given me the ability to give a different perception, not not that they're asking me to not be authentic, but things how I can walk into a room or how I can say things or how I can act a little differently so that people take me not as a bully, as mean, as aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Because heaven forbid if a woman is any of those things, right?
Right.
Those
Yeah.
would be great leadership skills in a man, but a woman cannot be that, right?
Oh, Heather, I've got some stuff coming down down the pike here in the next couple of 3 months that um I think if people don't know where I stand at this point, they're really going to know here pretty soon. But
Mm.
yeah, but um but other just yeah, just getting back to this whole thing of sometimes we just don't really
Hmm.
know who we are, and people going through stuff. And that's why I try to find the good in everybody. I know it's tough a lot of times. But just yeah, not knowing that when we were so close and not knowing a lot of the things that go on. And maybe we kind of gone through this and maybe we haven't, but can you go a little bit deeper into take everything that you've taken in your life and how has that groomed you to where you are now?
I think when I sit back and look at my life, I can see I felt like as a young person, as a child, feeling like I had no control over anything, right? So then the first thing you want to do as you get older in life is try and control everything, right? Because
Yeah.
we have a sense of control, so we want to control everything, right? But also not feeling like I had a voice and never feeling like I was enough. Like it didn't matter what I did, I was never going to be enough,
Wow.
right? And
Wow.
so that sense of no matter how many degrees I have, like I've got a college degree now. I probably have enough credits for 2 college degrees. I'm halfway through my master's program. So like I'm educated, right? I went and did those things, but it never was enough. Like it didn't fulfill me. Now I love being educated and I'll take a new class whenever you throw it at me. But I take them now because I choose to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not because I'm looking for that sense of I have to do this so that I look good and I'm enough, right? And so I even have a tattoo on my arm in my own handwriting that says I am enough because that's very important for me to remind myself that I am enough
Right.
and I'm enough right where I'm at. But that takes a lot of years. It takes a lot of years of therapy,
Hmm.
unpacking a lot of things, um, understanding who people are and that they're always going to be that, right? Like it's not my job to change somebody.
Right.
And I can't have expectations. Like I can't live my life wanting somebody to be different or act different, right? All I can do is I can be responsible for myself. And as long as I live my life with good integrity and I'm not walking around hurting people and being mean to people, um, then that's who I am. And that is enough, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hello, everybody. If you like the content of this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, you can send me a message at midlifeawareness podcast@gmail.com. When we started talking again with this podcast, it was to me, it was amazing how I think a lot of there are some things that are similar in our lives that I just, didn't really realize. And um, the struggle with a blended family
Mhm.
um, has come up. So, um, go talk to me through that. There's a lot of people out there. I know it's not a news story. Blended families are really, really hard to navigate. Um, so you've had some trauma because of it. Um, so look at basically what you grew up with, what you went through as a kid and growing up, and now you've got a blended family of your own. So
Mhm.
tell me some of the pathways to that. What were, some of your lessons that you've learned? What do you try to pass on now and things like that?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think I shared with you, by the time I got to Deep River, that was my third kindergarten, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there was a lot of probably trauma that I'm not even aware of that led up to that, right?
yeah,
So I was being raised with my mom. There was lots of instability there. Lots of moving, lots of things like that. And so when we ended up at my dad's house, he was married and she had 2 children. And so it was right at the end of kindergarten when we got dropped off there. And so, and I remember our kindergarten teacher later in life told me that like they didn't even think that I was going to pass kindergarten because that's how far behind I was.
oh wow,
And then she would tell me that when, you know, how everybody would go out for recess, like after nap time,
Yeah.
like my body, I don't know if it was just like from all of the trauma and experience and everything, but like I would sleep through recess. Like they would
Mm.
just let me lay there and sleep while you guys would all go out to recess. Like these are stories that have been told to me later in life.
I was gonna say,
So
because I don't remember any of that. So
yeah, yeah. So, you know, if it wasn't for her getting me caught up and getting me back in, you know, but I just don't think, to be fair, not making excuses, but to be fair, back then that would have been what, 77, 76.
yeah,
I
something
was
like
born in
that.
71, right?
Yeah, me too.
So nobody knew a lot about blended families, right?
Right.
And a lot of dads also didn't raise their daughters, right? So to be fair, there was no manual, there were no books, there were no podcasts, there were no things on how to maneuver through this, right?
Right.
And once again, we're in a small community, so who do we reach out to? Who do we
Right.
talk to? Who do we ask questions, right? Because nobody can know that we're struggling, right? So we just continue to struggle, right? So now looking back, we have resources for our children, right? Like if that were to happen, our children might receive therapy. Our children might have other options, right? But that wasn't available to us.
Right.
So, you know, as I continued to go through life, I wasn't fitting the mold. I wasn't fitting the mold in the house, right? I also learned that um, some attention is better than no attention. So if I did something bad,
Hmm.
I got attention,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it was attention, right? So, I mean, I would do stupid stuff just to get attention. And then I would pay the consequences for it, right?
Wow.
Like it's like I didn't have the wherewithal to know like this is dumb, you're going to get in trouble. It didn't matter. I just wanted the attention. I wanted somebody to talk to me, right? So, you know, and then as you navigate through life, I found sports, right? Which, you know, I was very involved in sports. That gave
That's
me the outlet,
right.
right? I had my job over at the Amanas, which thankfully I was around good women, the older women at the restaurant, right? Who I felt like gave me some hope, you know, gave me positivity. They believed in us, you know, that kind of stuff. So, um, you know, so I was able to maneuver and let's just say survive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Survive, to get through it. Now, some of our close friends know, some of my very close friends know what's
Yeah.
going on,
Right.
not to the extent then they know now. But you know, it's just one of those things. So when I became a step parent, it was really important for me to understand what not to do, how not to make somebody feel, right? Um, I don't have the manual. I just know that communication is one of the biggest keys, right?
Right.
So my oldest son is 30. So when his dad and I split up, we did lots of back and forth. It was awful. And what I realized was once I stopped trying to control the narrative and he had to take responsibility, that's when all the things shifted. Like I literally was trying to control what was happening in his house, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't about our son, it was about me being hurt from what had happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a woman, we have to think like that.
Right.
And women don't want to think like that. They don't want to take their own ownership, right? Well, he hurt me. So, fun fact, as I was getting my college degree, I always said I wanted to work for a law firm that fought for men because I saw the manipulation that I was able to do as a woman going through it,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
But that's ownership. You have to be able to own that, right? So once I stopped trying to control all of that, that's when him and I's relationship, we could breathe, right? So we would go to all the sporting events. Matter of fact, the schools didn't even know we were separated because we showed up together,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
And his wife and I have a relationship. I can text his wife. We have open communication. But when I met my husband, him and his ex-wife were not like that.
Yeah.
So that was weird for him, right? It was weird for him to go to my son's high school football game and my ex's wife their, her family, everybody all sits in one big group,
Right.
right? Because it was important for me, for my son, when he looked up off the football field, he saw us all together,
Right.
not separated, right? So, but it takes a lot of work. And so it was just important for me to make sure that as I became a step parent with my husband's son, that I said the right things, I acted the right way, and I wasn't there to parent. He had two parents that could parent him.
Was that difficult?
Of course. Well, because everybody parents different, right?
Well, no, yeah, yeah,
So like what I would do, maybe not necessarily be what they would do.
right,
But like my sister always told me, because she was a step parent before I was a step parent, you pick your battles, right?
yeah.
So if I might be frustrated, I might text her my frustration just to get it off my chest, right? But you're going to pick your battles because it's not my battle to fight. Is he a good person? Does he treat people kindly? Does he do all those things? Cool. Boxes are checked. That's all I can do.
So in our remaining moments here, it was it's been nice catching up with you. Really has been. I think this has kind of been way overdue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Facebook just doesn't quite do it sometimes. So
Well, I think it gives a false narrative, right? We've talked about that.
absolutely it does. And
Right.
for one thing, it's like I'm glad for social media on this type that it does keep people that want to be, connected.
Mm-hmm.
There has been that, but it gets back to the whole, small community type thing too. It's like we really don't know anybody. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know you,
Right.
and we are going to put our best foot forward to get people to like us, you
Right.
know. um, we're gonna post things that get reactions out of people so that they can put a reaction down on our social and like it or whatever. And I go through times. I'm on it quite a bit, and then I break off, and then I don't do much with it. And I'm kind of back and forth on it because it does get kind of tiring, but it has been nice kind of keeping up with people, getting back into people's lives and stuff like that. So um, but is there anything else on the outset here that you want to talk about? I do appreciate you coming on because, like I said, I feel like after talking to you that we have gone through a lot of similar paths. There's some of the struggles that you have gone to, especially with the blended family. It's stuff that I've all been through. It's stuff to navigate. It's stuff that we still go through.
Mm-hmm.
um, that we go through. And then, growing up, I was always the good kid. Um, Sometimes I didn't necessarily want to be the good kid, but it's like you said, you have structure.
Mm-hmm.
You have your lot in life. This is what you're supposed to be. This is who you are. Don't deviate from it. And one of the things that I've kind of, as I've gone older, as I've grown up a little bit, as they say, Heather, I've gotten to the place where I've come into my own a little bit, and I do have my own thoughts. I do have my own ways and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that I don't love people. It doesn't mean that just because I may think differently than somebody else now, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you think differently than someone else, doesn't mean you are a bad person. Um, but you know, we can live our own life. We can make our own decisions, and we can go through things. And I think this is one of the things with this podcast was it was a huge decision for me. It really was. It wasn't easy. Um, I knew that for you, it was going back to school. I did not know you were going through your master's, by the way. So
I'm not
congrats on
right
that.
now. I'm
Oh,
not
you're
right
not.
now,
Okay.
but I had started it. Yes.
Okay. So, well, congrats on that.
No, thanks.
But for me, it was getting into books. I was never a reader growing up. I don't know if you knew that about me or not, but I hated to read. I really did.
Oh, I
So,
I never read any of those books that we had to write reports on.
yeah,
No.
yeah, it's like so. Um, I absolutely hated to read, but I
Mhm.
got into reading here, and it's just like that's when the light bulb finally came on to the fact that you can have your own thoughts, you can
Mhm.
have your own ways, and I knew the thought of the podcast was going to. It's a very daunting one because it's like no one wants to talk to you when you're nobody, right?
Right, right. Hmm.
So it's just like it's very tough because you reach
Hmm.
out to people and it's like sometimes I wonder though if you don't get a response, is that better than someone telling you no? And that's what I'm dealing with right now. It's like, is it really better for them to tell me no or just not say anything at all?
Right,
So that's
right,
so,
right.
but um it has been, it's good for me. Um, it's been really nice for me. I've gotten to know some very good people. Um, and it's given me an opportunity to kind of in my own, a little bit. So, but is there anything else that you would kind of like to, this platform is yours at this point that you'd like to get out there and, um, anything like that?
I mean, I just think it's really important for people to understand that, what you're doing later in life, what I've done later in life, is that there's still opportunity and there's still time, right?
Yeah,
Is it going to be easy? No. But are you going to be able to take what you've learned for the last 30 years of your life and apply it to something, right? And that's always my biggest thing is that I always tell my kids this too. You got to learn one thing new every day, right? Like just tell me what it is. What one thing did you learn today? Because if we're not learning something new, then we're not putting ourselves out there to grow as people, right? And so for me, you touch base on people being like opposites in communication and all of those. The lady who I call my mentor, Marty, she's the opposite of me completely, right? Like where, we know where each other's are, you and I do. On the spectrum, Marty and I are complete opposites. But her heart and what she has taught me, how to be a better person, a better leader, and all those things, that's what bringing two people from complete opposite backgrounds and two people ways of thinking, the way society, everything should be, two people sitting down and being able to have conversations.
right.
Right. So, and if you knew Marty and I, you'd be like, you two, I mean, she's on my Instagram, right? But like we're complete opposites. But she believed in me and she saw something in me. And at that moment in my life, that's what I needed. And my heart was open. And so she taught me how to have grace and she taught me what that looked like. Right. So, it's finding those people in your life who believe in you, and you got to surround yourself with those people, right?
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
everybody can think and act like you, right? Because if we surround ourselves with only people who think and act like us, then we never get another perspective on anything.
With that, Heather, I thank you so much for
Of
coming
course,
on board today. It's been nice catching up with you and talking to you.
of
And
course,
that doesn't mean that this is going to end. We're going to keep up with each other.
we
That's for
will.
sure. For
We
sure.
will.
So, in the spirit of everybody coming together, um, so what I want to do on the way going out is I want to hear you say, "How about those cheese?"
No, never,
Let's
never,
do it. Come
never.
on, Heather, you can do it.
No, I cannot.
Do I
Nope.
do I need to get Stacy on the phone? Help us out here.
Oh my gosh, you
Huh?
went to her, huh?
Yes, yes. How
Nope.
about all right, on the way out? Let's go. How about those
Let's go
cheers?
Broncos.
Love you, girl. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.